Despite the best efforts of the Western gaming media, Crimson Desert has cleared a massive milestone of 6 million copies sold in just 83 days. But what's even more interesting is that a vast majority of those sales came from the Americas and Europe. In fact, at the 11-day mark, it was reported that 80% of the revenue came from those regions. So it's completely safe to say that even now, most of the success is being driven by the Western gamers, which points to a very interesting pattern growing across the entire games industry. And if things continue the way they are, this trend will only keep on growing until the inevitable collapse of the legacy gaming companies. However, it's not all doom and gloom, as Pearl Abyss has given us a winning blueprint, a blueprint that literally guarantees success. But with that blueprint out in the wild for everyone to see, the fact that Sony is still doubling down on their corporate nonsense, announcing games like God of War Laufey, made me roll my eyes so hard I saw my own asshole for a second. So in this video, I want to talk about what the industry actually needs to learn from Pearl Abyss. In fact, there are 4 big lessons that every other game dev company should learn from them and their flagship game if they don't want to be completely irrelevant a few years down the line. Because there's a reason why Crimson Desert stands out, managing to stay relevant 3 months after release in today's unforgiving landscape, when even legacy live service titans like Bungie's Marathon can't stop bleeding. Crimson Desert is a massive game. It's one of the most, if not the most, systems-heavy game of all time, right up there with the likes of RDR2 and The Witcher 3. There's a shit ton of things you can do in this open world, and if I start talking about all of them, we'll be sitting here for a very long time, so instead enjoy this little rap I wrote about all the stuff you can do in this game. There's arm wrestling, fishing, hunting, cooking, shopping, horse taming, wagon hijacking, skydiving, cat cuddling, dog petting, sheep wrangling, dragon riding, building, climbing, contract taking, hostage saving, treasure hunting, looting, gliding, and then hot air balloon piloting. If you've heard this before, I'm lazy, okay? You don't get to complain. Call of Duty drops the same damn game every year at full price and you still buy it. Get out of here. Now what's crazy is that before Crimson Desert, the guys at Pearl Abyss had only made MMORPGs. And initially Crimson Desert was also gonna be an MMORPG, acting as a prequel to Black Desert Online. However, somewhere around 2021, mid-development, they made the decision to shift the entire vision and turn it into a single-player game instead. I mean, think about it, 2021, the year when every big Western company was going downhill, making foot-shooty decisions like pandering to the modern audience or forcing their studios to pump out 67 live service games a month. The guys at Pearl Abyss, who actually excelled at making live service games, looked at the state of the industry and decided to make a purely single-player experience instead. I don't know what kind of voodoo witchcraft they're doing over there, but it's almost like they saw the future market gap, and it shows that these people definitely understand the market, but more on that later. Now, since this was their very first single-player game, there was a lot of stuff they didn't quite get right at first, and all those flaws were clearly visible in the release build of the game. All the deeply interconnected systems paired with the convoluted control schemes kept getting in the way, which not to mention is something they've pretty much fixed by now. Just recently they added the option to remap the controls, and while it sounds great on paper, when I actually sat down to do it the other day, I realized the controls are just inherently complicated no matter what you do, and this is a byproduct of the insane ambition of these devs. They also made some huge quality of life improvements which might not seem like much, but they actually make a huge difference. You know, little tweaks to the UI, adding better map icons, giving you the ability to fast travel whether you're swimming, running, riding a mount, or falling from the sky. They even added some yellow paint so Travis over at IGN doesn't have too much of a hard time finding fast travel points. And it doesn't end there, as now they're talking about patches to improve the story, which is unheard of. And that actually brings us to the first lesson that the industry needs to learn: how to handle criticism and feedback. Pearl Abyss dropped an incredible game, but there's no denying it that it was extremely rough around the edges. And when people started complaining about it, instead of being like, "We made one of the most mechanical rich games ever, you are just toxic insult chuds for complaining," the devs listened. In an interview with IGN, the marketing director at Pearl Abyss, Will Powers, explained, "We're not honest about if an idea didn't come from us, then it can be in the game." I think that's something that other companies are too ego-driven a lot of time to be able to accept other people's ideas. It's almost Silicon Valley-esque. A good idea can come from anywhere. This shows that they are not blinded by arrogance or hubris, they have humility. And that's the reason why they were able to pinpoint and fix the problems, improving the game from a 7 out of 10 to a solid 9 out of 10. But what's absolutely insane is that they didn't stop at that either. In addition to all the fixes, these absolute psychopaths have been adding new content to the game that the community has been asking for completely for free. You don't want shields hanging on your back? Here you go, you can toggle it off. Don't want to display the headgear? Here you go, you can toggle it off too. You want more mounts? Say no more. With all those additions, I was like, yeah, now the game is perfectly fine, but the devs were like, nope, go play pinball. You ungrateful people were still asking for more pets? Here you go, now you can turn your entire camp into a zoo. Oh, and you wanted more flying mounts? Well, here you go, hatch a baby wyvern, keep it as a pet, feed it 40,000 meat, and it'll grow into a permanent flying mount. Also, don't forget a saddle because, well, that doesn't look too comfortable. Like, dude, I don't know what these devs are smoking over there, but this is insane and they just keep adding more and more stuff to this game. This actually shows that these devs respect the time and the money of their customers, which brings us to the second lesson. Pearl Abyss understands that you build a loyal community by providing value instead of trying to extract money out of your paying customer. $70 is a premium price for a game. That should be it. You should not penny and dime the people who paid the full price for your game. That's the reason why, despite the fact that Pearl Abyss had every opportunity to set up shop trying to sell resource packs and armor sets, they didn't. And it's honestly refreshing to boot up a game and not feeling like entering a f***ing sales funnel. I mean, you boot this game up, press X, sit through a loading screen, and boom, you're playing the game. That's it. Instead of trying to squeeze extra cash out of you, they themselves try to justify the price tag by adding an absurd amount of content into the game. Their main goal was to deliver, but what they actually ended up doing was over-deliver, and even then, they didn't get greedy. During a more recent interview at Summer Games Fest, Will Powers talked about how even though games typically see the first discount in 90 days or so, they haven't dropped the price yet. They did this because they don't want to penalize the core community who supported them and paid the full price on day one. Instead of dropping the price to chase cheap sales, they're adding more free content to entice new buyers while actively rewarding their early supporters. That give first mindset is the reason why dumbasses like me cannot shut up about this game, and as a result of that, Pearl Abyss has been reaping some big rewards. And that brings us to the third lesson. Word of mouth is infinitely more important than your marketing budget. In the last couple of years, we've had countless examples that prove that trillions of dollars in marketing and bought out critic reviews cannot carry a bad game to success. Now, I'm not saying that marketing doesn't matter. It absolutely does, but the best kind of marketing is a positive word of mouth and player numbers. And what's the best representation of that? The Steam charts. During the interview with Dextro, Will actually gave credit to Steam charts as the key driver behind Crimson Desert's success, saying, if I want to promote the game, a great way to do that is to have sustained player base and constantly be high up on the Steam charts. Having continued support and continued content both reward your community and the people that have invested time in it, as well as doing free marketing without having to spend it elsewhere. So you're spending it on adding more content to the game instead of spending it on advertising. This actually makes so much sense and points to a huge problem with the industry today. According to reports, the marketing budget for AAA games can reach up to 50 or even 100% of the development cost. So for example, if a game costs $100 million to make, with marketing, you're looking at a total of around $200 million. Pearl Abyss saved a lot of those costs by letting the Steam charts do the heavy lifting while focusing on the game and their employees. I mean, there's a reason why Pearl Abyss devs got a bonus of $3,400 each, while Ubisoft's laying off 3,400 employees. So other gaming companies can cry as much as they want about it, but the thing is that Steam charts matter, and now they matter even more than the so-called critic reviews. There was a time when even I actually looked at IGN reviews before buying a game, but over the last couple of years I've been looking at the Steam charts to make a buying decision, even though I only play games on a PS5. The thing is that a good product speaks for itself. It sells itself, and that's exactly why, despite the mid-critic scores, despite all the hit pieces, despite the best efforts of the Western games media wanting this game dead and buried the moment it dropped, none of it mattered, because at the end of the day, Crimson Desert is simply a great game. And that brings us to the fourth and the final lesson that the industry needs to learn, because without this one, nothing else works. And I'm talking about understanding the market itself. Pearl Abyss knew what a vast majority of the gamers wanted. They knew what the people were starved of, and they aimed to deliver exactly that. Because at the end of the day, it all boils down to one thing: the core idea behind the project. The guys at Pearl Abyss were like, you know what, there's a demand for it, so we're gonna make the best single-player open-world game ever. And of course make a lot of money while doing it. And that's actually the most important step, one that most Western studios get wrong. You need to have a very good game to begin with, because that acts as a solid foundation without which it all crumbles down in an instant. I mean, AC Shadows could get 5,000 patches and still no one would play it, because the core idea behind that project had nothing to do with being a fun game. All they wanted to do was to own the chuds. When it comes to Crimson Desert, people wanted to play that game from day one because Pearl Abyss simply wanted to make a fun game. They didn't set out to own the chuds, they set out to win over the chuds. And looking at those 6 million copies sold, the strategy worked flawlessly. Is Crimson Desert a perfect game? Not in the slightest. The game still has its fair share of problems, which I'll talk about in another video when I finally finish the damn thing. But overall, it's a great game. Now, I don't know if Crimson Desert will be the game of the year, but one thing's for sure. The team at Pearl Abyss, well, they definitely are the devs of the year. But I'll leave you at that. Do share your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think other studios will actually ever learn, or are they too far gone? Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you found the video valuable. Also use the hype feature so my video gets more exposure and my small channel blows up. I'd really appreciate the support. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.